Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Empowerment Liberation Cathedral. This is our Word Wednesday. We want to give everybody a few moments to get on. Once again, welcome to ELC's Word Wednesday. We have a great topic for you on tonight. I think you might want to ask your friends to tune in. You might want to get your family members to tune in. We just want to hear from each and every one of you. So make sure you are typing in the chat on tonight. And we want to make sure that we hear from each and every one of you. Once again, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Empowerment Liberation Cathedrals, Word Wednesday. Tonight, we are going to talk about we have a panel discussion to talk with some of our ELC leadership about the verdict when it came in. And so we want to talk about that tonight. So I'm going to bring them in now. Glad that they weren't on. Y'all didn't see something that just occurred. So I'm going to bring them in right now. Tonight we have with us on our panel, we have Deacon Sylvester Stokes. We have Deacon Ronnie Bullock. We have Minister Catherine McKay Page and Minister Eliana Bullock. And so we're so excited. Y'all see they already in the spirit. They got the Black Lives Matter behind them. Black Lives Matter. Y'all need me to play the song? All right. So I didn't turn the song on tonight, but no justice, no peace in Black Lives Matter. All right.
Somebody want to take over for her?
We want to ask everybody, what were you doing when you found out that the verdict had come in and that they were going to prepare to read the verdict in about an hour? Where were you and what were you doing? I feel like one of the anchors, but where were you and what were you doing? Don't tell me yet what you thought. Just tell me where you were and what you thought when you heard that the verdict had come in. Anybody?
Good evening. Bishop, I was actually leaving work and on my way to my parents' house.
Okay. Okay.
So you can imagine that atmosphere, if you will.
Right, right, right. So you were leaving work. Okay.
And I was listening to the newscast as I'm driving to my parents' home.
I could only imagine how many people were listening on the radios in their cars if they were in transit from one place to the next, because you could not miss it. On last night. So once again, anybody who's just joining us, we are talking tonight with some of our ELC leadership about the verdict that came in on yesterday. All right, so somebody else tell me where you were. Deacon Sylvester was on the way from his job.
Well, Bishop, I was actually still in my home office working, and you texted me and you said, Deacon, the verdict is about to come in. I dropped everything. I almost fell to the floor because I didn't think it was going to come in that fast.
Right.
But I'm so grateful that you told me that the verdict was going to come in. So I was stuck in this chair in my home office waiting for the verdict.
Right, right, right. And you know, that was a historic moment. And
Yes,
so everybody needed to know, but it's good to know that you were not transit. And so anything that may have come down, you were in a place where you were stable. If you needed to get to a couch or something, you could. And so that's good to know. Good to know. Okay, so Deacon Sylvester was leaving work. Deacon Ronnie was working from home. Minister Eliana or Minister Kat, where were you when you heard that the verdict was in?
I was getting my hair cut.
Oh, well, you probably was talking about it there.
Oh yeah, it was good conversation, but I was sitting in the chair.
Okay, so Minister Eliana was sitting in the chair getting her hair cut. All right, so Minister Cat, you gonna be able to top that?
I was home watching Bad Boys, y'all. I must confess, waiting to get on class, and all of a sudden my watch said beep 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 beep. I was like, what is going on? I thought I had a malfunction in something. I looked all these Facebook posts going up, and I just seen, guilty, and I was like, and I just got so excited, and I just put on Facebook and put on TV and try to put on everything just to find out, and I was just like so overwhelmed and overjoyed. It was amazing.
Let me say, we were just saying that the verdict was in. It hadn't been read at that point. So you were still sitting at home when it was in, but not read. Okay. So now we all waited in anticipation for this, because when they said the verdict was in, I was at home initially. So I was waiting. And then they started talking about in about an hour, they were going to have the verdict read. So as you know, they had to move the jurors from the courthouse in order to have the verdict read, because they didn't want anything to happen to those individuals. So that was a part of the delay, because they needed to be moved from that current location. And so, they were sequestered the entire time. And then after that came in, I was told they moved the jurors from the courthouse. Now, when they started reading and the judge asked them about it, I heard people speaking. So now we didn't see no faces, but I did hear them speak. So now go figure. But the whole thing is they took an hour, about an hour, maybe 2 hours to read what the verdict was. And so once that was read, okay, everybody started gathering in front of the building, and the people came out, the protesters, those activists, those who wanted justice for George Floyd. There were so many people that came out because they wanted to be there in that space when they heard the verdict. So now there was a lot of anticipation, a lot of palpitating in hearts, a lot of sweating, a lot of people who were nervous, anxious, didn't know what was going to happen. And so talk about, y'all were supposed to talk about what you felt. Talk about what you felt right before. We talked about this some at Empowerment Justice Center. Some believe that it would come out the right way, as Auntie Maxine says. This need to come out the right way, because if it don't, people gonna be in the streets. So talk about, did you feel any feelings of anxiety? Did your heart beat faster? Did you feel any sweating? Were you nervous? Were you in the mode of, if something happens that ain't supposed to happen, it's going down? What exactly did you all feel? I'm trying to give a lead in here before we get to what they actually said. So tell us about what you felt right before, when you knew the paper had been given and it had the verdicts on it. What'd you feel?
Well, Bishop, I felt all the above, what you just described. I was anxious, I was nervous, my palms were sweating, my underarms were sweating. I wasn't moving, but all this was happening to, my body. And all I kept saying was that God is in control. That's all I kept saying. That's all I kept saying. And I know a lot of people are like, don't be putting God in this, but that's what my thoughts were. God is in control. So I knew when we were talking about on EJC, I said, I'm not gonna get there, but nonetheless, I was very anxious. I was nervous though, although I thought one way, but anything could potentially happen. I couldn't move. I was just paralyzed until the verdict came out. So all sorts of feelings came over me.
Okay. Okay. And so many people in America felt that. Somebody else.
I think for me, Bishop, it was very emotional. I can say that. Still emotional. Our son has been thrown over a police car. My brothers have been thrown over a police car. A lot of my male family members have been on the other side of that abuse, and by the grace of God, they're still here. So when I waited for the verdict, I was waiting for some type of justice for them as well.
Yes.
Because, yeah, I was waiting for some type of justice for them as well.
So do you feel like you got it?
I feel like it's the beginning because we have grandchildren now that will come up and they will be the next young Black men and Black women walking the street. And I feel like there's a chance that they will not be profiled. I feel there is a chance that even if they are stopped, that it will be a legitimate stop. And if, in fact, something does go left, but I pray to God it doesn't, there will be justice for them. So I stood watching and hope that my brothers can now breathe easily, that our son can breathe easily. And I also stood in anticipation that our grandsons and our granddaughters will be able to walk down the street and not worry about that. I mean, I look at the kids that, my granddaughter's 16 years old. And, I could not imagine her walking down the street with her friends and experiencing something like that. And so I think it did give me hope. Just like when Rosa sat down, it didn't fix everything, but it moved something. It shifted something. And sometimes that shift is enough for the work to be done. And then a change happens. And because we've had so many going backward lately with racism and dehumanization and marginalization, it's like we've been going back in time. It was so refreshing to see something here and now that looks us in the face as Black women and men and say, you are valued. We see you as human, not 3/4 of a man, but we see you as human. I was waiting for that. I was waiting to be seen. I think that's it. I was waiting for us to be seen by the justice system. And I think that is what I was standing in anticipation of.
Okay. Somebody else tell me what you felt.
Bishop, for me, on the drive to my mom's house, one, I was very emotional, almost sad at some points. I can't say that I was hopeful because from experience, I could say that I didn't expect the verdict to be or the decision to be what it was, but I felt very anxious and I felt sad, and I remember driving and listening to the reporters and being very teary-eyed. And then, of course, when I got to my mom's house, it was a little bit elevated because they had the door waiting for me because they were in the room waiting as well. So I heard the first decision as I'm walking through the door. And then by the time I get to the bedroom, the other ones, and I'm standing in the floor with my hands over my heart. I mean, just grabbing, not that it was hurting or anything, but I was bracing myself just in case I needed to. And so it's unfortunate that as a Black man, that's the reality. But I also felt when I heard it, the verdict, the decisions, that to me, it kind of felt like being part of history, number one. It kind of reminded me of that joyous moment that I had when President Obama first was elected. And so it was that opportunity where you could actually see change starting to happen. And so it shifted from the anxiety to the sadness to the emotional to then being hopeful.
Okay, great. Minister Cat.
I know I jumped the gun before, but Like I said, I just saw it, but like I was trying to avoid it basically the whole day, because I was so nervous about it not being, the right verdict that it should have been. Like I said, in groups when we was talking about things, and last week, that I just kept thinking that somebody was going to punk us. You understand what I'm saying? I kept saying, is that real? Is it real? Is that it? Are you sure that is it? So I was so relieved that this man has gotten justice. And I can imagine the family. And like you heard Minister Ileana said, it's like justice for every Black men, women, brown women, minorities who has been treated, badly by the police department or by, with racism and different things like that. So I guess more so for me, I was like kind of nervous. I was on pins and needles. I started doing stuff around the house just to try to avoid knowing that it was gonna happen, because I didn't want it to be the wrong thing, because I didn't want America to be set on fire. You understand? Because I know that something could have came after, So I'm just relieved. Today, I just feel so good in my spirit and in my soul. And then I just pray that, from here, like Minister Ileana said, that they see us, and they know we're just not a color, we're human, we're human beings. So I'm just relieved, and I just thank God for that. But like I said, I was trying to avoid it. I had that, uncertainties about the verdict. So.
Great. Thank you. So Deacon Ronnie, I want to go back to you, because you didn't get a chance to talk about when the verdict came out. What did you feel?
I was elated. I had like my office lifted off of my shoulders. I was, I tried to stay as optimistic as I possibly could. And then when I started reading posts on Facebook, and a lot of individuals were being very negative about it. Oh, this doesn't mean anything. What about all the rest of the people that were killed? And what about this? And what about that? And those people I actually removed from my Facebook page, because it was so the man, the police officer killed him, period, the end.
Right.
And so regardless of whatever your thoughts were or whatever, he was found guilty for killing someone, just like a regular old person that was going through the system. Because he killed someone, he was found guilty. Mm-hmm. So, outside of everything else that was happening, the verdict was the verdict of him being found guilty. So all of the negativity that was being spewed out on Facebook and on Instagram and so on, it kind of irritated me, because, okay, no, it's not a win for everybody, but it has put us in a different, we have taken another step. And just like, Eliana said, so maybe our grandchildren or our sons, or whatever the case may be, don't have to endure this. But I was as ecstatic as I could be, because the court system worked. And I was like, so justice can prevail if we are in the right positions, I would say. So I was absolutely excited.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for being honest about the people's posts too. I was on the fence a lot of time, because I've seen so many times where justice doesn't come down for persons of color. And so it was a challenge for me, even though all the evidence was there. And I would say the prosecutor laid out a great case. And I would say some of the things that the defense put out to me helped the prosecution, some of those videos. And so to me, I still wasn't sure, because you're dealing with a very racist, old institution. Our court system needs to be overhauled. And the ways that we do things in this country, most of them need to be overhauled. But I was grateful when it came out that on every count, he was found guilty. And so, it was a wonderful day. I felt like I wanted to. I think I had gone into the smoothie place because I just needed a smoothie. Y'all know how those days are. I just needed one. So I went in the place and they kept saying it was about to come. And so then the judge, because it was to the point where I had my TV on my phone. And so you know how you can't disconnect because you need to be in the moment. So I was watching it in the smoothie place. And so when the judge started reading, I ran out to the car. I didn't even get my order. I just ran out to the car and I wanted to make sure that my wife and I heard it at the same time. And so when I heard it, I was just excited that finally justice came for somebody. And to me, when it came for one, I felt it was for all, but many people did not feel that same way. But I really felt that this was major in America because so many people have not gotten justice. And so even when evidence was there, even when it to us was a very obvious case, still they did not receive justice for what happened to them. And so I felt we should have celebrated on yesterday. And I even saw the post about why are people celebrating? This is what should have happened, but it doesn't. It rarely does. So let us at least have a moment. And I believe that's about all we had because then there was another shooting on yesterday. So, but it was a day of victory, and you need small victories to move you forward. And so I was just very happy about that. But I do want to ask, now that we saw that come down, that he's guilty, now what do we think about the judge, now having to decide the sentence? Because yes, we won this big part here, but there's still sentencing. And so what sentence do we want him to get? Because most people say he needs the maximum, but there is that portion that still has to come for this individual that murdered George Floyd. And then those other officers, their cases still have to come too. So what do you all think about that? And then we'll talk about the George Floyd law in a few moments, but I want to hear about what y'all think about the sentencing piece.
I think, Bishop, that's where the challenge comes in. We want our Black and brown bodies to be judged appropriately in a court of law and given a fair sentence. We have to demand the same thing for this man. Now, I know a lot of people may not want to hear that, but if we expect to be justly tried and charged and sentenced when it's us in the court, we need to expect the same for him. So expecting a sentence for this man in a sense that he planned it, he came there to do it, he did it, no, that's not a fair sentence for him. That man was called there for whatever reason, and he made the wrong decisions in that circumstance that took the life of a man. He took his life, but he didn't choose to go to that store. He didn't decide that he's going to go to that store and kill a Black man. That man was called and went there, or however he got there. So the same way that we don't want our Black and brown people to be charged as if we thought about it, planned it, and went there, we can't expect him to be charged any different than us. However, we can't expect him to get any lenience that we never received either. So I think that the actual sentencing should go in accordance to what he is committed of. He is charged with 3 charges, and each one of those charges have a sentence of years, right. And he needs to be sentenced to those years. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't mean no harm, and I'm going to be honest with you. There's no rehabilitation in jail. It's either you choose to do something different with your life or you don't. And I'm sorry, I don't know how you're going to rehabilitate a police officer in there. Good luck with that one. But that man needs to do time for what he did. But I still, no matter what you say, it needs to go in line with what he's charged with. So I think he should receive whatever penalty goes with those charges. Do I believe this judge is going to do it? I'm going to be honest with you. No, I do not. Anytime a judge that's sitting on a bench is going to tell you to pull a charge off of the docket, and then you have to go to appeals court to have it put back on for the person to be found guilty of it, yeah, we need not sit there and put all our eggs in that basket. But I would hope that he would do the right thing. He hasn't proven to be that person, but I'd hope he'd do the right thing in this situation.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because I don't know if I'm really hopeful about him or not. I appreciate the fact that he did not allow them to do a mistrial, because they were trying to call for that because of what Auntie Maxine, as we so lovingly call her, her statements. But it seemed like he was firm. But I said, now he knows in the back end of this, he has the last say so. And so, I'm just, the verdict is still out for me. The jury is still out for me on him, because the bottom line is he's got time to decide how he wants to rule. Even though there are guidelines with sentencing, he still has some leniency, just like police officers have leniency with things that they do as well. So we're going to be hopeful about him. Anybody else on the sentencing piece?
Bishop, I think that the judge is going to be harsh. I don't think that he will give him maximum sentencing, but I believe that he's going to be harsh because the eyes and the ears of the world will be on, well, actually is on this case. And so it's going to be really important that he does not go too lenient with the conviction of murder. And so I think he's going to be harsh, but I don't think that he's going to get maximum sentencing.
Okay. And historically, they have not. But go ahead, Deacon Ronnie.
Oh, sorry, Bishop. It's not really too much I need to say after Eliana said what she said. She kind of changed my mind about the way I was thinking. So what she just put out there, she kind of changed my mind, as she always do. So sometimes it's not good for her to be on panels, because I like to keep my same thought process. But nonetheless, she really put it out on the line for me and changed my mind for that. However, I do agree with Deacon Sylvester as well by saying that he's going to be harsh, in my opinion. I think because aren't judges reelected? Don't they have to go through a process to get reelected by individuals, or are they automatically?
No, some of them are elected, yes.
So I don't know if he has to be voted back in his next term or whatever the case may be. So I'm sure he's weighing out all of his options right now, as far as if he does have to be reelected, what he needs to do, whether it's on the right side or the wrong side. I'm sure he's thinking about a whole lot of different things. But at the end of the day, I think he is going to, for the most part, give him what he deserves. That's what I think.
Okay.
And the crime should fit the judgment.
Right.
But the sentencing, I should say, sorry.
Yeah. Yes. It's interesting because that voting for judges can be tricky, because it depends on your voting block. Some judges are very harsh on people of color and a little bit lenient with those who are non-persons of color. However, if their voting block are, let's just say, Trump supporters and who may support a more conservative person, that person probably would still get their seat back. So those are the types of things that we have to look at when you talk about, okay, if you don't, sentence properly or what we think is proper, then, we're going to run somebody against you. Well, we can run somebody against them, but do we have the people to go and vote and put that person in? And so, that has been the challenge with so many of these judges, continuing to get those seats back. And so that's a whole nother discussion. I don't want to lose my train of thought here. So we dealt with the sentencing. And so now we know that there's a George Floyd law that needs to pass the Senate. And so a lot of people are saying that that's where it's going to stop, because we know we have a lot of conservative folks in the Senate. So now, what do you all think about that? Because, truth of the matter is we do have a wonderful victory here, and this is historic. However, we can't stop here because we need the laws changed, and we need them changed to stop these type of actions and over aggression. And we do need, I believe, um, a change in the policing in America today. However, we right now have a bill that we believe is, some believe may not pass through the Senate. So what do you all think about that?
I'm actually not familiar with the components of it, so I can't speak on that. I haven't read it.
So my thought is, if the Senate didn't vote to say that the insurrectionists incited, or Trump incited the insurrectionists, and didn't turn over the votes for Trump. I'm sorry. If the Senate didn't do those things, if they didn't say that the individuals incited everything, and Trump incited the people to go to the Capitol, if the Senate all of them with the exception of 2 of 3 didn't vote that way, I don't have any confidence in them to change this over for this bill to become law. I don't have confidence whatsoever in that aspect.
Right, because you have to have all of the Democrats to vote for it. And so some of them are always kind of iffy because they know that they represent areas that are somewhat conservative. So let me read for you all the George Floyd Policing Act, because I just pulled it up so I can make sure I tell you most of the things that are here. The bill addresses a wide range of policies, issues regarding policing practices, law enforcement accountability, includes measures to increase accountability for law enforcement misconduct, to enhance transparency and data collection, eliminate discriminatory policing practices. The bill facilitates federal enforcement of constitutional violations, for example, excessive use of force by state and local law enforcement. Among other things, it does the following. It lowers the criminal intent standard from willful to knowing or reckless to convict a law enforcement officer for misconduct in a federal prosecution. It limits qualified immunity as a defense to liability in a private civil action against a law enforcement officer or state correctional officer. And it authorizes the Department of Justice to issue subpoenas and investigations of police departments for a pattern of practice of discrimination. The bill also creates a national registry, the National Police Misconduct Registry, to compile data on complaints and records of police misconduct. And so we know that Derek, I'm gonna call him Derek, had I think at least 12 complaints. And then he also had an incident he was involved in where somebody died. So you will have a registry, which did we talk about that? We talked about something like that, Deacon Ronnie. You'll have a registry of where you can see the record of these police officers and their misconduct. But it also is going to help to bring down discrimination and them being able to get away with so many things that they've gotten away with in the past. So that's why people are wanting this policing act policy to pass in the Senate now. Deacon Sylvester, did you want to say anything on that?
No, I just like the idea of the registry, so that when actions happen, you have a go-to as a resource for these people that are committing the crimes, specifically police officers. And so that's great. The other part, I'm just hearing it, so I can't really speak to it, but I know definitely the registry kind of rings a bell.
And so, we jokingly talked about once before how when police officers pull you up, pull you over rather, and they can run your plate and see all your information. There should be some kind of way where we can know this police officer's information that's pulling us over. So let's just say if Officer Joe pulls us over, we can now maybe look up his badge number, and it'll come up on our computer or something, or on our cell phone, that he has discriminated against 20 other people. He has profiled numerous people, been in 5 altercations, and he has been in an incident where 2 people were killed. You know what I'm saying? And so you'll know more than likely you need to get to a very well lit area. Well, we know that doesn't always work, but a very well lit area where there are people who can be witnesses to whatever is occurring, when you are pulled over or asked to pull over. We just got to change some of the systems here in America today. So lastly, we've talked about the verdict of George Floyd, and it was, like we said, it was a day to celebrate because, as Minister Eliana said, it gave some people the feeling that somebody saw us. And, we actually, in George Floyd, could say that so many others who had not received justice, there was some level of justice there. However, that same day, there was somebody else who was shot. And so, while we were celebrating, there was something else happening again. And so, that's why we have to continue to lobby. We have to continue to protest. We have to continue to rally. We have to continue to go before Congress, because we do need for some of the laws and policies to be changed and them to be on the federal level so they can go down to the state and local level and change policing in America. And so lastly, anybody want to talk about those last 2 persons who were shot? I believe it was Dante, and I don't have the young lady's name. Let me find her name. Does anybody want to talk about Dante at this moment? I think it's Dante Williams. Is that his name?
I thought it was Wright or White or something. I'm sorry. Please forgive me if I can't remember his last name.
Yeah.
I almost have no words, Bishop. I just, I have no words. I think as a people, we have to realize that as long as it has taken us to be put in this position as free slaves, if you want to put it plainly, as free slaves, it's going to take us a while to come out of it. And it's just like any type of illness. The doctor puts you on antibiotics for a period of time. Like, it's not like the first pill you take, it's going to go away. Right. So this sickness is going to take a while to leave our country. But I just think that we have a lot of things at play here. We have people that have a complete and total disregard for our lives. So that's why this young man was shot instead of tased. Like, it's a complete disregard for our lives. I believe that had that been a white body, you would have thought twice, one, about pulling anything. I mean, we've had, people, and we've had white bodies run around completely naked with a knife charging a police officer, and they go to get some help. We've had a black body completely naked with no police officer have a bag put over his head, and he dies because of suffocating with the bag over his head because he was spitting. So a knife you can carry and you can't spit. So I just think it's just such a illness that for us to think that trial would have a full day of celebration without an incident is unrealistic. I mean, we have to be realistic in this. I think the most powerful thing that we can take from that day was watching Jesse Jackson cry. Like, that man was in tears when he heard the verdict, because in his lifetime, he never thought he'd see it. So I think when we hear about our black and brown bodies continuously being treated as less than human because you don't even have a second thought about how you deal with one of us, as if we're something else to deal with. But human, we've got to really just understand that these things are going to happen, and it tears you apart. Like I can't speak on what that, like that moment. I don't mean any harm. I've held both items, and they don't feel the same. They don't even operate the same. The way you pull off the latch is completely different. But, you know, for that life, it didn't matter for you to think twice. And you weren't a new cop. You've been on the beat for a minute. You just didn't think twice. You yelled what you wanted to yell, and you did what you wanted to do. And that's the thing. You did what you wanted to do. And I think when we look at these cases and we look at this happening, the beauty is more people are seeing than us. This has been going on for years. And I applaud that young lady. I think she was a teenager that recorded what was happening to Mr. Floyd. I applaud what was recorded that was happening to this other young man. It's hard for me to speak on, because for the ones we know, they're 20, we don't. And it's unfortunate, but that's where we are right now.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think her name was Makia or Makaya or something like that. The young girl, I can't remember her last name. And not a whole lot has really come out, so I really, can't talk about it. All we know is the police officer shot and killed her. They said that she was trying to stab someone, but why couldn't they have just, if they had to shoot her, if they just had to shoot her, why couldn't they have just shot her in the leg or in the hand? Or I don't know. I'm sure police officers take all sorts of defense classes, and taking the weapon away from her. All I can remember what's in my head is the man that went inside of the grocery store and shot up all those people. He walked out with a wound to his leg. He went in and shot all those people, walked out with a wound to his leg. So, they knew exactly what they were doing. But I do think with Dante Wright, I do think it is bringing more attention to the other side, I would say, because I was watching the news, and the guy Pat, I can't think of his name. He's over the 700 Club.
Pat Roberts.
Pat Robertson, yes. He came out and he actually had a gun sitting on at the 700 Club at the table. He actually had an actual gun. He had an actual taser.
Mm-hmm.
And so for him, and he's probably almost 100 years old.
Yes.
But for him to say, don't we know, can't we tell the difference here? So for it to get all the way to Pat Robinson from the 700 Club that came out, he was like one of the first churches or to go live on television or whatever the case may be. But so to me, it's like it's getting attention, and for him to pull that out and talk about the differences and why didn't she know, then somebody is getting some type of attention.
Right. And I think that I forgot about that. He did do that, because I ended up seeing the video of him doing that, which I was totally shocked about. And like you said, he is probably 100. So for him to do that, it was quite interesting. That still, to me, I can't fathom how you would not be able to tell the difference between a heavier weighted gun and a taser. I don't know. I mean, my wife tried to explain to me how when you get in a certain space, in your mind, because of the situation that you're currently in, you may make some mistakes. But I guess for me, I just can't see that. I even had a police officer who told me, you could make that mistake. No, I can't see it. But that's just my experience.
But Bishop, I'm sorry, but listen, they also were saying that that your weapon, your gun, your weapon is on your stronger side,
Yes.
and
Yes.
keep your taser on the weaker side.
Absolutely.
So if you already know that how did you reach for your weapon on
You
your
had to come
stronger
across
side?
your
You
body.
had to go cross your body to
Yes.
pull out the taser, or vice versa. So I don't believe that that person made a mistake. I believe that person killed that young man purposefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think also that it just goes to show, which is really unfortunate, that every case of a person of color that's killed by the hands or the knee or the foot or the gun of a police officer, it's so different and unique. And so it's a need for Mr. Floyd, but here it's a gun which should have been a taser, which really shouldn't have been a taser.
Right.
Why do you have to always go to hurt to kill versus to immobilize the person, that you're able to apprehend the person, to put them in cuffs? And so I've actually seen a lot of videos from law enforcement talking about the same thing, the weaker side, the stronger side. And so you should know. And as a trainer, which she's said to be a trainer for some X amount of years, that's kind of embedded after a while, because if you're training someone to do something, how do you, as the trainer, make a mistake? I don't understand that. I don't believe that. It's a poor excuse. And so, unfortunately, situations like that happened. And now we're dealing with another death, but it's in a different magnitude, a different means, a different focus, a different source. And so it's kind of like it's this revolving door. And so as a people, we have to be mindful, and we must maintain our focus and not be discouraged, because got the verdict yesterday, and it's another killing happened basically during the same time. And so you have basically celebration, and then you have sadness, you have distress, discouragement, the whole 9 yards. And so I think we have to be able to be mindful that unfortunately things are going to continue to happen. And as Minister L said, it's a process. All of this discrimination, injustice, unrest did not happen overnight. We have hundreds of years of embedded hatred, embedded untruths, all of that. And so it's going to take some time. Unfortunately, I don't think that I'm going to be alive to see the total change, but I actually welcome the small steps. Yes, it should be more, but I celebrate the small steps, because then you're in that real moment where you see the evidence of change. And that's the important thing to me.
Right. You're so right. And, as I said, you have to take those small victories when they come, and know that, that'll be a stepping stone to something greater. I wanted to go back to the, I think, 15, 16-year-old girl, because there is a video that does show what happened with her. And I was able to watch that video. And so when you think about, I've taken the classes, defense classes, weapon training, all of that. They always tell you, or, you want to make sure that you notify the person that you're about to take an act, or you give them a chance to, stop or whatever. I don't remember hearing him say that, I'm about to shoot or anything. Like, there was no, I don't recall hearing anything like that. The girl, yes, had a knife. Now, when you talk about equal weapons, a knife compared to a knife doesn't compare to a gun at all. So this is a 16-year-old girl. I did see there was some altercation between her and some other people at the halfway house where she was. And there was a boy kicking her. Seemed like her and the girl had a tussle. They were outside. And then she did have the knife getting ready to go towards somebody. And that's when you hear the 4 shots. Okay, but I think that could have been handled so much differently. And so we have to ask ourselves, how are the police being trained? And, that's why they're saying that you need new policing laws in America because, you have a gun. Again, she has a knife. So now, are you that afraid that this girl is going to overcome you and stab you with a knife to the point of death? There are other people that are there that don't have anything. So how difficult would it have been, like you said, Deacon Ryan, to take this person down, to stop the fight? I don't think it would have been that difficult at all. These are young people. They're very strong young people. I'm not saying these were, but there are some who are. I understand that. But, still, this person had a knife, you had a gun. And so to shoot 4 shots, not even one, but once he shot, he released some others into this young girl. And so, um, we just have to change the laws. And that's what we should be pushing forward, pushing for to get the laws changed here in America.
I agree, Bishop. I think also, what about just using normal human reactions? Shooting a gun to the ground may have reflected, but shooting a gun in the air, shooting off to an empty pit, that sound alone stops people and they turn around and look. Where does that go away? Why do we no longer have that warning? Even if you can't say the words for whatever reason, can't you fire a warning shot? Like what? Why aren't we doing that? I think part of it is, you hear some police officers say that when they go into certain neighborhoods, they feel like they're going to war.
Yes.
But they're not trained for the 12 weeks and whatever that soldiers are trained to deal with things. They're not taken through the most strenuous experiences to make sure that you can still react the way you need to react. So if we're sending them into these environments and they haven't been properly trained, or we're taking people that have been fired from other police departments because of what they've done, and we're putting them on our streets, we're not preparing them for this. Does it make it right that they, react in a human way to a circumstance that they're not prepared for? No, it doesn't. But if we know that in every job that a human is there is a percentage of error, and this error now means death, we have to do better at training people on how to deal with strenuous circumstances, on how to deal with the physical human body and how it responds to certain things. There are things you can do when you don't even have to harm somebody to stop them in their tracks. And I'm sorry, stop is not one of them. Because if I'm going through a moment of rage, you say stop, I don't hear you. But you shoot a gun in the air, I'm going to hear that pop. And I'm going to, hold off for a minute. But I just think I think that the police force is, one, ill-equipped because they're putting people on the street so fast because they can't get enough cops. Then they're pulling people that probably shouldn't be police officers and putting them on the street because they passed the physical test and like 1 or 2 site visits. Like it's more you have to do to put people on the street. And then you have to understand the people that you are policing. If you are policing a group of people that were born and bred to fear you because of what you've done in their community, do know their reaction is not going to be the same as somebody who thinks you come to get their cat out of the tree. It's going to be a whole different reaction when you come on the scene. So, I think it's just more training that needs to happen. And I do think federal, but I'm kind of not sure about that federal thing because I just think some things done federally aren't done well because the oversight's not there. I think that we have, that to deal with too, but I just think the training is not there. And I think the constant psychological evaluation isn't there. And I actually agree with First Dale. There's a part of humanity in you that you're going to react to something the wrong way. You have physicians that make errors. Like, we're human. So, we have to have some allowance for that. And I hate to say that, but, that's reality because they are humans.
Yeah. Let me say that, Deacon Rodney, hold on. I want to say this before I forget. Oftentimes in training, you are taught that if you release a ammunition into the air, you're responsible for wherever that lands. So more than likely, they're not going to shoot in the air to give you a warning. That's why they're supposed to verbally give you some level of warning. Also, they're trained to shoot you in this area because usually you're shooting to kill. So you're really not supposed to be shooting people in the legs and arms and those type of things, which would be better. But I think, now their training is, you got to shoot to, I don't want to say kill again, but you got to shoot to bring that person down. And so if you shoot in this particular area, you definitely will bring them down. However, I just think that today there are some other ways you can intervene and handle the situation without going in to kill people. And it's in my mind continuously, I see the little white boy. I don't remember that video where I know it was on Facebook running probably about a year ago, who was shooting out at one of those rallies. And they brought him and sat him down on the side of the police car and gave him something to eat and something to drink.
Perfect King.
And so now, okay, but this boy was out here with a gun and doing all kind of stuff, and y'all give him some water and something to eat and sit him down at the car like it's your brother's son, but an African American or person of color doesn't get the same treatment. And so that's very disturbing. Deacon Ronnie, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Bishop. So I just wanted to touch what Eliana was just saying about training. I think they all have the training, because when they were going through the case, as talking about how much training they do get. So I don't even think it's training. I think it's what they want to do. They've been trained to do X, Y, and Z. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. They just break it down and they go through training or whatever. But I just think that when they get into situations where they see brown and black people, that their first thing is to shoot and kill. They don't think about their training, because if they think about their training, they think about their training when they're apprehending a white person.
Yeah.
Hence, they don't kill them. Kill them.
Right.
But when it comes to their training, that goes out the window. Bye-bye birdie, because, oh, there's a black man. Let me shoot him because I feel so intimidated by him, or he's tall, or he's dark, or he's big, or he just told me that, whatever,
Yeah.
But so their whole mindset changes as soon as they see who that person is.
Yes. I think you're right.
Well, and reading the article about the young 16-year-old girl, and listening to the news, her mother said she was the one who called the authorities. So, did something happen where they're trying to jump her? That's why she called the authorities and felt that she was defending herself. I mean, like, who really gonna tell her story now that you done killed the girl? You understand what I'm saying? So it's so much things that's out there. How the little girl didn't have any mental health problems, or something happened, something happens that caused that reaction. And we would never know, because nobody is really going to even tell this little girl's story, whoever wasn't there. But my thing was that, where was the threat? I'm still trying to find, where was the threat? Okay, the young lady had the knife, perhaps. They couldn't use a taser to bring the young lady down so they can figure out what is going on. I mean, that was an option, if they couldn't shoot in the air, if they couldn't shoot her on the knee or the leg. I mean, so they decided to, kill her, shoot her 4 times. One time would stop the threat, because now you injured, now you focus on your injury. So you're not worried about hurting the person, because you can't move, basically. I just feel that is more that, I agree with Minister Eliana. I agree with Deacon Ronnie. I agree with you, Bishop. What is actually being taught? If they're getting all this training, what is actually being taught? Like Deacon Ronnie said, now when you see this black or brown person go out the window, I mean, they shot her like if they was going to a community fight. You understand that, you know, a fight broke out and everybody out there had guns and they was fighting like they was going to some kind of turf war or something. I'm not sure, but what was going through this officer mind when he showed up and decided he wanted to put 4 bullets in this young lady that's 16 years old that has a knife, you know, and don't even know what the story is about. But her mom said she the one called the police. So something actually was taking place before the authorities was called to this resident, you know, but they would never know the whole story now that they done killed this child, you know. So I don't, it's no excuse. For me, it's no excuse. You understand? For me, it's no excuse. They had other options.
I think you're on point. Everybody's on point because, you know, when you talk about what do they see when they show up on the scene, they don't see someone who is of equal value and humanity as them. And so they're seeing somebody who is of lesser value in their mind. And so where are you getting this from? You know, that's the real question, because if we now constitutionally are an entire human, no longer 3/5, then we're all on the same playing field. And so if that's the case, then why not respect the humanity within each and every one of us, now knowing that you all had it wrong in the beginning, because we've always been these great, wonderful people, but you just did not respect us as so. And so now that we know our value, we know our worth, we're doing some great things, we're making some things happen, and we are shining, and we're able to hold political office. We've risen to the highest political office in the land. We are inventors, and we are doctors and lawyers and all of that. So you still think we're not fully human? You still think we're not worth giving us our dignity and respect? And so somewhere the training has to be different from what they're being trained now, because everybody deserves respect and everybody deserves to be treated with respect, I should say it that way, and given their humanity and treated as a human being and as God's creation. And so I think that somewhere along the way, that does get thrown out. And that's why they need to be retrained. You know, their minds need to be renewed. You know, we've got to work with retraining and reprogramming. I think that's where we are today. We've got to reprogram so many, even in these rural areas. You know, we've got to reprogram people on today. Mr. Eliana?
I was going to say the same thing, Bishop. I think we have a couple of things going on. We do have reprogramming. We also have to deal with the elephant in the room, which is fear. There's a palpable fear of Black and brown bodies and the power that we hold, and where we have come from and still have been resilient, because honestly, we're here because our ancestors actually made it through that atrocity. So there's a fear at times, and we have to challenge that fear, because, you know, you'll do some crazy stuff out of fear if you don't want to admit you are afraid. If you don't want to admit that you're ignorant to how to deal with Black and brown bodies, which is no different from any other, but you just may not know. So out of fear, you need to prove your masculinity or your power or your feminine power, whatever. And by doing that, their method of proving it is taking our lives. So there is a lot of training that needs to be done, and deprogramming. And you're right, it starts there, because realistically, what made you devalue our bodies? You're not born thinking that way. So where did you get to that point? And then how do we get you back to a point where you do value our Black and brown bodies? And then for those who do embrace us and we embrace them, I just reach out to them now and I plead, give us a safe space to feel this pain. Give us a safe space to go through what we go through when another one of us has fallen. Don't try to rush us through it, and don't try to be the best non-Black and brown friend possible. Be true to who you are, but give us space to go through it, because we need that space, and we don't need you to be the very, very bestest friend ever. just be who you are in our lives, but allow us to go through this because it's necessary. Because this isn't new for us. This is an old wound that can't heal. And until you felt it, you don't know what we're going through. But just like, our allies, LGBTQIA allies, they have to give us space when we go through things. It's the same with our sisters and brothers that are not Black and brown bodies. You got to give us space to go through this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think we've had a great panel, very robust conversation, honest, transparent conversation. And the conversation does not end. That's the point. We got to keep talking. And we can't just talk amongst ourselves, but we got to talk amongst those non-brown or people of color, sisters and brothers. And so we want to, again, remember to pray for the families who have lost their loved ones. And it's okay to just give a shout because we were able to get victory on one. I do want to say that it's okay to do that. And so, yes, it's okay to, say, God, we just thank you because of justice did come. And so we do want to pray for those families. And we know that I think the funeral services for Dante, I believe, will be on tomorrow. And Reverend Al Sharpton, I believe, is doing that eulogy. And, I'm sure they'll be preparing for this 15, 16-year-old young lady in Columbus, Ohio. So, we've got a lot to continue to pray about. We have a lot to stand up for, speak up for. And, if we can ask for justice, a lot of asking to do when we go on Capitol Hill and go to the Congress on today. So just remember these people who have lost their lives, remember their families in your prayers. And I don't want to, do a hashtag thing. So we're just going to say, remember those who have fallen, who has lost their lives, who have received injustice. And we want to hold those people accountable who brought that in their lives into the lives of their families. So again, we will be celebrating ELC 7 coming up very soon. May 1st is the day that we're going to do ELC 7. And so I'm excited. May 1st is coming right around the corner. So we invite each and every one of you to come out and join us at 1:30 p.m. We do have some other choirs that are going to join us. The ELC praise team, of course, will be there singing. Y'all want to hear the ELC praise team. I'm sure we're going to have lots of fun. We have the Beloved Community Church praise team that's going to come and sing with us. We do have the Jubilee United Church of Christ praise team that's going to come and sing with us. We have soloist Carriel Coates who will be there to sing with us. And we have none other than Anthony Oakes, who's going to be there as our MC. So we're going to have a great time. I'm sure there's going to be lots of laughter, and we will have food there for you. We will have some ices there for you as well. And we'll have some giveaways for you. And so just be prepared. We're being intentional about everything that we're doing on that day. We'll have some wonderful desserts for you as well. And on the next day, May 2nd, it will be our 7th year celebration. Wear your purple and celebrate with us virtually. And so we are so excited about ELC 7. So we need all of y'all passing the message on that we will be in Lanham, Maryland on May 1st, outdoors in the parking lot. We're going to praise in the parking lot. We're not going inside the building. We will ask each and every one of you to wear your mask and socially distance with us as we prepare to gather there in the parking lot. And so, what am I forgetting?
Don't forget to bring your chairs when they come Saturday, Bishop.
Thank you. And bring your chairs, or unless you can sit on the hood of your car. We're not against you sitting on your own hood or on your truck. But we do want you to come out, bring the whole family. It's going to be a great time. And we look forward to seeing each and every one of you. We have truly missed each and every one of you. So we want to see you. We want to see your friends. And, we want to just have a wonderful praise time in the parking lot on May 1st at 1:30 p.m. And so we will be done by 3:15, 3:30. Okay, so we got to get in and get out. So y'all know we can praise in 2 hours and get out. Okay, so that's what we're going to do on May 1st. But thank you to each and every one of you who has supported ELC, who's been a part of ELC from a distance. We are thanking each and every one of you. We want you to know we love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Okay, and so please consider being one of our supporters for our ELC 7. We're asking supporters to send us through Cash App $77 or whatever you can give. We just want you to send that in, and make sure you notate it's ELC 7th anniversary gift. Okay, so we want to make sure that we notate that that is for anniversary. So thank you so much to our wonderful, illustrious panel. You all have given us a lot to think about on today. Y'all brought it on tonight. I tell you, we got some real thinkers and social justice activists at ELC. And so we all wanted justice for George Floyd. I believe we got it on yesterday. And so we are now going to wait to see what the sentencing will be. And so we'll have to stay tuned for that later. And again, don't stop praying, because we've got a lot to pray about on today. Good night, everyone. May the grace of God and the peace of God be with you all.